Okay.
Hi, tell me your name. John LeBlanc. I'm your fan. Pardon.
Oh, I know you from.
Nice to meet you. Yes, I know. I know you. Okay, well, that's been a while. Yeah.
As long as you, Cynthia.
Okay, guys, let's go
He's been
ahead
here
and
as long
start.
as you. You've been here 50 years.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Chief.
But he's been here 50 years.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
You guys know each other?
Where are you from?
From 66.
Oh, do you guys know each other? Do you guys know each other?
Before we get going,
Parents before.
No, it's Brad Stock. Brad, can you help us stand? Anne's over here, can you help us?
Thank you, ma'am. I'm gonna have another one.
On your chair.
Sam,
They say, I
I
well, you can have that
I've had several already.
one. There you are.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, guys, so let's go ahead and get going. So I'm gonna give the floor over to all y'all. Pam, Eric, Gus. Gus is on a California date tonight. Todd, everybody, Chief. Hi.
Hi, so if I can start. So
Yeah, I just-
everybody knows I'm retiring at the end of the month. Mark Archuleta has been appointed the interim chief, so I invited him to come because
Thank you,
he's
Mark.
been supported as the department as me personally.
Very good.
And I thought it was super important to be here as well. I'm just doing a pop in, but I plan on coming here more often, meet with you guys as well.
Good.
Chief Wentz has expressed his deep concern, or his importance rather, to come here, and I agree with him 100%. So that's kind of why I'm here. So, thank you for having me.
Thank you, guys. Can I just do a couple announcements before we get going?
Absolutely.
Okay, guys, so the tree trimming, it's in. So the plaza trees are going to be trimmed next Thursday, the 24th. Is it the 24th? Yeah. So Steve Noriega is on board, and we've given the county $1,425 from the roundtable. So thank you to everybody that has donated for that. So we're finally getting them done. That's great news. The Lions Club has asked us for help to hang the flags. So the next time that they're going to hang them is going to be on the 11th. And the flags that they always put around the plaza for holidays. Yeah, so it's Veterans Day. Yeah. So they've asked us to help them. They've also lent us at Legacy the little tiny miniature of Tio Vivo. So you guys have to come and see it. It's really cool. Yeah. So that's all set up today. Okay, so anybody that has petitions for the parking, if you could get them to me by tomorrow, I'm going to get them to Polly Ray, we're going to count them, and we're getting on the agenda, hopefully, for the council meeting. Oh, we are on it? Good. For the council meeting on Tuesday.
At 4.
At 4.
Lex called me and he said Polly Ray needs help picking up the petitions that she's dropped off at businesses. So if anybody's got time,
Does she have a list of names?
you might call Polly.
Okay.
I'll find out for you, because I'm talking to her after the meeting, and I'll find out if what exactly she needs.
I have a name and phone number. I don't see the woman here today that said she wanted to help more with petitions, so I can give her that list too, since she's available. I'm working.
Okay. Is it Julie? Okay. Julie
Let me
Lake?
see if I have it
Okay,
here.
just so I know also.
That woman that works for children.
Oh,
Here it is. It's Veronica.
Veronica.
East Street, Pena.
Okay, if I can get her contact with it. Thank you. Other than that, I think those are the announcements. Anybody have anything that they want to talk about or announce before we get going?
Question,
Yes.
what time on the 24th, what time on the 11th?
24th council meetings at 4 o'clock at Town Hall.
The
And
22nd.
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 Tuesday.
Thank
Tuesday's
you.
the 22nd.
See, that's why I have fact checkers here. Thank you. 22nd.
Thursday's the 24th.
Okay, so Tuesday, excuse me.
Yeah.
Tuesday at 4 o'clock. correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we need people to show up there because
Planning on
if,
it.
okay, yeah, if we're fighting this parking thing, we want to show up
I'm
in
going to
force.
schedule that for it.
So, Ruthann, I wanted to just kind of let everybody know, we've worked as a committee for the last several months. I'm going to give this over to Pamela because I'm having a hard time speaking tonight. But I want to thank Amino and the rest of the committee and John for giving his valuable time, Chief John, in putting this together. And I apologize we didn't get it here sooner. But I think that it was a real eye-opener for all of us, and I'm excited about being able to present it back to the group. Cynthia and Pamela and all of us have been meeting every other Thursday for quite a while, and it's been a great experience. So
Thank you guys for doing that. That's a lot of
That's
work
really
that
been
you
a
put
great
into it.
experience.
That's
It's
awesome.
really great experience.
Yeah,
To
great.
spend time with all these people and all the knowledge they have and ideas they have. It was a really great creative process.
Thank you, so take over.
Oh, and this, just so we understand, this all started when Chief Wentz brought to us, when we said, how can we help? And he brought to us that stack of paperwork of revolving door court cases and the issues that he was dealing with behind the curtain that's invisible to the rest of the community. And we started looking at it, and we're like, holy crap, pardon my French, there's a lot more to this than we thought. And this is what created the committee in the first place. So this is the follow-up for that, and kind of our findings from a deep dive into that side of law enforcement and the judicial system, which to a lot of us was new territory.
Awesome.
So I'm going to be in training today, so I'm going to speak to you. I'm going to read the report that he really did a great job on and Gus contributed to. Gus can't be here today. So I'm Pamela Rosenberg, and I'm going to read to you the Roundtable Citizens Crime Committee report. Earlier this year, a roundtable meeting was held, and the discussion centered on ongoing issues with petty crime and vagrancy within the business district of Taos and the negative impact it has on businesses and tourism on our community in general. It was suggested that we form a committee to delve deeper into the issues, root causes, and most importantly, some possible solutions that could be implemented going forward. The committee is comprised of a handful of volunteers with varied backgrounds and experience in the community and civic involvement, both locally and from other communities. These business owners and private citizens of Taos who have taken the time to try and make a difference within their community, including Gus Desarega, thank you, Pamela Rosenberg, Ramiro Martinez, Eric Jackson, Cynthia Burke, and Chief Wentz came in pretty much full-time, more than halfway through.
Awesome.
We began meeting every Thursday for several weeks and discussing in general the bigger issues having the greatest impact on our community. Those being property crimes such as theft and vandalism, violent crimes or perceived threats that deter tourism shoppers from supporting businesses within the plaza and Bent Street, the revolving door of reoffending criminals, and lack of effective enforcement, real or perceived, against petty crime. We then brought in several outside community members from law enforcement, including outgoing Police Chief John Wentz, DA Marcus Montoya, local business owners, social services such as Homeless Shelter Center, and others to give their input and statistics. We quickly found that the issues were more complex and interwoven than we had anticipated, and that many of the problems had been going on for years. We looked to establish root causes and found several, including a legal system without sufficient resources to efficiently manage crime, a lack of support from the state level for local law enforcement and prosecutors to properly deal with chronic offenders, a lack of public accountability. The court system has led to a system with no teeth, a culture of tolerance of theft as a lifestyle within our portion of our community so that this issue is not taken seriously, a lack of energy and prolonged lack of appeal, and vacant businesses in the plaza over the time have drawn in a criminal element and driven away tourists and shoppers, a lack of treatment options and accountability for chronic drug offenders. We have come up with some solutions. First one being public involvement with public information campaign on the issues. Foot patrol during business hours, either law enforcement or private patrol. Neighborhood watch signage. additional lighting and security cameras, public pressure on state representatives to provide additional law enforcement personnel and prosecutors, administrators resources, media coverage monthly of court case outcomes and current cases, media coverage of the issues that are affecting tourism, the plaza, and the business district, additional treatment options and accountability for crime offenders, individual bans from Bed Street or private property for crime and repeat offenders. We as a committee believe that without increased public awareness and involvement in putting pressure on local and state government, that little will change with this, and these issues will continue to plague our community. We recommend participation in a letter writing campaign or petition by the public and increased coverage by local media to bring these issues into public awareness and make additional state resources available to combat growing and complex issues affecting our community. And I can start over slower if you want. Anyways, we're coming here today because we know that now we have some really good steps to move forward, and to do that now we have to start increasing the size of our group and therefore the productivity of it. So this is our first step to get you guys involved more. And we're open to questions. A lot of this right now is really bringing public awareness. That being like right now we read the police blotter, and it's kind of funny, but a lot of these guys are in and out 10 times. And the way the system is set up is they don't have a choice but just to move through it. And they're all getting off, even on violent crimes. So one of the things we want to do is partner with the newspaper, because they have free access to all this information, and otherwise it's open to the public, it's public record, it's costly, it's per page. And we're looking at pages per production, like every time we put something out, we're looking at a lot of money if we have to output that. So we also want to partner with them to maybe get a healthier way that they might speak or convey their issues.
Did you reach out to the paper?
We're working on that. We have
Okay.
some names.
Can we take this and get them a copy of it? Or do you have?
I sent it to you electronically already.
Okay, then I can.
But if it's easier for you to copy, send me that email yesterday. Send it.
You know, if I can interject, Ruth Ann, it's like, I have taken some of this stuff to John Miller over there, and I'm just one voice, so it didn't get a whole lot of attention, just a lot of lip service, you know. I think that if you can get them to one of these meetings, you know, to where everybody that's sitting around the table is in agreement that this is the problem, and putting pressure on them to do some media exposure to it might be more helpful, rather than like a phone call or an email, because I think it'll just get glossed over. That's what I think.
Okay. Good suggestion.
Was this information absorbable, conveyed to you this way? Or was it easier? Could you also like to read it? I just want to make sure, because I know if I hear stuff, sometimes I don't capture it all. And
I'm very visual. I can make copies of
I have 4 copies
Oh, you
that
do?
we can
Okay.
circulate.
Okay, but
So the suggestion was brought forward by Chief Wentz that, we have the police blotter, which is kind of there for entertainment purposes, because some of them are pretty funny. But what we don't see in the police blotter is the monthly outcome of court cases, the plea bargaining, the dismissals, the recurring offenders, and the lack of any real sentencing, which is a deterrent. There's no doubt about it. You get sent to jail, it's a deterrent. But if that isn't there, it kind of tells the criminals that there's no consequences. We can keep doing what we're doing. That if we could have once a month in the newspaper a tally of current court cases and the outcomes of them, so that there was a greater public awareness, that it boils down to resources, both for the police department and for the judiciary. They don't have enough cops, and they don't have enough prosecutors and administrators. Every prosecutor needs to come with about 4 administrators in order to handle the caseload. We don't have, my understanding from the committee, we don't have enough prosecutors to properly manage the cases, and there's a mandate to move them along rather than sit on them. So a lot of times the plea bargain is the default action when it gets to court. And rather than doing what needs to be done or should be done, as in sentencing or real consequences. They plea bargain for something less, you put an ankle bracelet on and send them out the door, and 6 months later they're back again. Until there's additional resources, that's not going to be fixed. It's not a matter of blame that we don't have the talent and the horsepower within the police department and within the court system to deal with the volume of cases that we're experiencing.
One of the things that the DA brought up is for 2 years, they've had the monies for an assistant DA and then for a couple of others.
Support staff?
A couple, but they need more support than that. But nobody has taken those jobs that are open,
Nobody's applying for them?
right?
It's kind of the same as we have at the police department, you know.
But how
getting
often, how do they
people-
advertise them?
Huh?
How do they advertise
That
them?
I don't know. I mean, the state advertises different than we do.
Right.
I typically see, in my experiences, I typically see that we get a lot of turnover, where it's just a stepping stone for them, where they come here, get experience, and then they'll go off to the bigger departments, go to the Albuquerque's and everything.
Do they all, the other departments also have a different pay scale too?
I'm assuming so.
That's part of the incentive, or is it just a bigger?
Well, when it
pot?
comes to the DA's office, that's a statewide schedule, you know. It's different for the police department, but the
Right.
DA's office, that's part of the state system, so wherever they're at, it's the same.
I see.
That
So-
thing, about the coverage, what you're asking is what's called a crime beat. I used to do that years ago, and it's almost a full-time job
Yeah.
following the court cases. You really, because the reporter is over there asking people questions they don't want to answer, talking to people that don't want to really talk to them and asking them, and it requires some research. The thing to do is what you've just been doing is just keep lobbying the editor and the publisher, Chris Baker, John Miller, and ask to come by and meet with them in person. Because they get hundreds of emails a week. So you just have to be persistent, and maybe they have 2 reporters right now, that's all I have. And I don't think either one of them is doing the crime beat as such. So it'd be nice if they could put on another reporter or get an intern to do it, but that's what you're asking.
Well, the one that they had for a while was Liam, the young guy.
Yeah.
And he's gone now, so
Yeah.
once he left, they didn't really fill that.
It's not an easy job, but they should do it. Like I
I'd
said.
love to get them here.
Well, but that's a really good point too that Sam brought up is we went in, when we did the petition about the plaza last summer, a whole group, 11 of us went in or something? 11 of us went into to the newspaper and got a meeting with them and they listened. I mean, I think that if nothing else, that we could do that, just show up.
That's kind of what I mean, whether
Yeah.
you get them there or whether you meet them there, but go
Right.
in force and
Yeah.
show them that there's more than just one person that's interested.
Great idea.
Yeah, we should plan that.
Maybe preface it with this letter, send it to them, and then request a meeting.
Yeah, okay.
Fill the room.
That's great. I have a question. It's noticeable for me since the last time you were here, or 2 times before, like
You're gonna say I look older?
8 or 9 months ago, no, you look better. Younger, because you're retiring. No, it's some of the players that were trouble, like Xander. It seems like we've gotten rid of some of those. That you guys have
You
pushed
know,
them out, or is it just?
I don't know if we can claim credit for that. I mean, we tried, but it's like you just never know what's gonna happen. I've seen him, he's still around, I've seen his vehicle, he's painted it a little bit,
Yeah,
but for whatever reason, he's not hanging out there.
but I've noticed a difference, haven't you, with the riffraff that's around town now? It's not as bad as
Mostly
it was.
Bonnie and Lon.
It doesn't feel as
Yeah.
violent and volatile.
Pardon me?
It doesn't feel as violent and volatile as it was.
No, it doesn't.
It was
So
really edgy
something.
for a long time and combustive.
It was.
You mentioned Bonnie. Yeah, I'm very familiar with her because I'm down there every day. That to me is a person, with all due respect, needs an intervention.
She does, and the problem you have with stuff like that is the Adult Protective Services Department is, I mean, they exist, but that's about it. You can't get them. I think it just goes back to the same old thing. When you get the hard cases, nobody really wants to deal with it. So, her, Monty McCauley's another
Monty,
one.
oh my
It's
God.
the same thing. I mean, he's dying in front of our eyes, you know? and-
We're all happy when they ship them down to Ranchos for the day and make them walk back up.
And then we don't have a detox center, because when we're talking about grassroots solutions, one of them was as simple as neighborhood watch among the business district, signage and phone numbers, private or public patrol, but not having the resources of a detox center. You guys get stuck with the bottom of the barrel and you got nowhere to take them. And we take them to the hospital and what do
They
they do?
get cycled out
Walk
as
out.
quickly as
Walk
they're
out.
sober.
You know, one guy you could talk to, there's another one down there named Holt, you know what I'm talking
Holt's
about?
on
Yeah,
there.
Holt's
And,
downtown.
Mike McCormick over there has the gout. He actually helps those guys and lets them come in there and scream at him in his gout, but he actually helps them. He's a guy you might talk to and say, hey, what more can we do?
I'll
Kinda
talk
keep
to
his-
Michael, he's my neighbor, we just had a conversation the other day. Oh, Michael McCord?
With, about those guys or just,
Well,
well,
whatever.
talk to him. See
I'll
what he-
also bring him in because we had a long conversation just the other day.
Ask him what he might suggest.
Excuse me?
Ask him what he might suggest.
Thank you, I will, I'll do that, I'll take care of that in the next couple of days.
Small town, we all know who the homeless people are.
I still think they're working on the detox stuff too.
It's like, we all know that Pueblo's got a great circuit because they have their own treatment center. And they can at least get them out on the street 30 days at a time.
Well, Steve is working on that, but
Right.
it's still,
And I will
it's
say
still tied up, I
that,
think.
you know, with
Steve's right
COVID,
behind you.
with COVID being over and everything, getting municipal courts fired back up again,
Yeah.
I mean, our monthly, because we have to pay, if it's a municipal prisoner, you have to pay $125 a day to house them, and the last 3 months, I think our bill for the month's been $14,000. So Judge Chavez is putting some of them in jail for 10 days, 30 days, 60 days at a time,
Good.
more frequently.
Take care.
So that
That's a
might
big
be
step.
part of the thing too.
So I think that this happened not just locally, but all over the country. During COVID, enforcement became kind of hands-off approach to a lot of the homeless population, and they wandered into urban centers, set up camp, and there were no consequences for it, so they kind of took over. It happened in my hometown of San Diego in a big way. We called it the zombie horde. And I know that we dealt with that somewhat here, and as the plaza, as we put in a report, shops closed, attendance closed, it was under construction, it was 2 hours. The energy of the plaza was diminished, and it was inviting for those vagrants to camp out there, and there were no consequences for it. So it's time for us to take it back, turn the lights on, hang the flowers, put up benches, as we've been doing over the last year. So I think that it's a step in the right direction. It's not going to happen overnight. Having an operational detox center is going to be huge, but it's still wallowing in red tape. Having transitional housing for some of these cases, and having an expanded court system would all be great. And those are things that we need, but that takes money. And we have to incentivize new police officers and new court officers to come in, and if that means offering more money or subsidized housing or whatever the issue that is turning them away. I mean, I hear you saying it's a revolving door and they're using it as a training camp to go to other departments. If they were getting paid more money, would that slow that down, do you think?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And subsidized housing?
Yeah, because none of my officers live within the city limits.
Yeah.
Can't afford it.
Yep.
I know I talked to a Blue Blush driver, this has been only a couple of weeks ago, because I was looking into as to why are influxing a lot of the homeless. And the rumor was like they were bringing them up from down south. So I asked him politely, and I said, how long have you been a driver? He said, no, maybe for like 6 years. And I said, do you bring homeless up from down south? He said, yes, I do. He said, and he says, I've seen an increase since I started 6 years ago. So they do bring a lot of homeless from Albuquerque and Santa Fe. So, I'm trying to get with the mayor right now and see if we can go down south to meet with other mayors, the other chiefs, and see if we can come up with some kind of resolution regarding that.
Who drives?
Well, Gus and I'll do foot patrol at times on the plaza, just to have bodies down there. It's sort of like I'm part of special events. And we're out there with eyes on. We're helping the kids and such, but we're also eyes on for anybody, so, including Halloween, which is going to be huge.
I remember back in the day, we used to, when I was a bike patrol, we used to ride bikes around in the middle of the night. Because it was a lot quieter, a lot easier, so I'd like to see if we can, in the warmer days, of course,
Yeah.
get back into that.
Well, we really appreciate your attendance and participation. I think it's going to be important that that continues. As you can see, we're not here finger pointing, or we don't have any pitchforks and torches. We're here to try and help and, do what we can. But there's a definite impact to the community that needs to be addressed, and,
Absolutely.
anything we can do to help on your side. And if this can create a pipeline to the mayor so he knows that we're back here and we're doing this and we're not just, throwing stones, that would be great.
Well, I live here too, and I raised my family here too, so I have a deep commitment to the community that I serve as well. So I'd like to keep it safe and for my family as well as all the community members here. So.
You see people are driving homeless people up here? Who's driving?
The blue bus.
The blue bus?
Yes.
And we're getting a big blue bus on Salazar.
Yep.
Like up from Espanola?
Yes.
I've heard it said that the grapevine homeless people, because I've made friends with some of them, but they see somebody regularly like this is, I often introduce myself and say, as long as we see each other, we can know each other. I can't help you every day, but I can smile at you. So I get a chance to talk a little bit. And I've heard that we treat our homeless people so good that it's bringing more homeless people up here. There's a grapevine because we have some outreach people who are so overly generous.
That's what I've said, Taos Roundtable are generous.
They're giving such big, every time someone has an issue, 6 cars drive up to, help them, which is, it's great, but it's very negatively impacting us also.
There's a difference between, being from Taos and for whatever unfortunate reason becoming homeless. There's a difference between that and moving to Taos to be homeless.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's an easy place to be homeless. There's so much open space and we have programs.
Well, right now, the thing that popped up was the cow's pasture over here, and we've been working with Davison and stuff and kicking people out of there again, but as it grows up, you don't see it, the guys get busy, and unless they call in and report it, you don't always get to deal with it, so.
So, it's seasonal to some extent? Does it taper off?
It's easier to
I'd
protect
say
it.
it used to be more seasonal than it is now because our winters have been relatively mild for like the last 5 years. So it used to be come October, people start going back south again. Now they don't. They come here and they stay all winter. They survive with us.
Yeah, they're delivering little propane
Steve is here.
cans to people to their tents.
We need 6 weeks of 20 below that.
That's what we usually have for Christmas. Usually we used to have that for
Yeah.
Christmas, 6
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah.
And then we were tasked with housing them or finding them shelter or blankets and stuff like that.
I mean, it's still easier than the influx of thousands of migrants.
Well, in San Diego, we had a local church that meant well, but they had free food galore, donuts and everything else on Saturday mornings, and it would attract 200 to 250 homeless people in that whole neighborhood, and they were usually camped there the night before. They would steal stuff out of the cars, they'd defecate people's driveways, they would trash the whole neighborhood, and finally the neighborhood went to the church and said, you can't do this here anymore, because it was attracting such a nuisance.
We just had a recent incident at St. James down there on Goosthorpe. One of our local kind of mentally challenged people was there and it ended up attacking Bob Draper to the point where he had to go to the hospital.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I mean, it just attracts that up.
Wow. Well, then also the influx over the last few years of hard narcotics, fentanyl and meth, and what it does to people's minds is just dangerous.
Wasn't that was a discussion for
It
one
was.
meeting about how many, was it how many gangs or how many drug lords were feeding these guys drugs? What is it? That was early in like 8
Yes, yes.
Can you elaborate on that a little better than I can?
Well, they see a new person who's homeless, and they give them some of the drugs to begin with, and they feel good. This makes them feel good. And it's not, there's a lot of folks from Taos who are homeless. And that's one of the things that was brought up. I think Steve has seen that a bunch too. Why don't you speak?
Well, first of all, regarding the detox center, just a little update.
Thank you.
So, the feds have gotten out of the way. It's now completely with the county.
Cool.
And how do I put this nicely? The can keeps getting kicked down the road. And so what the situation is now, there still has to be a fire suppression sprinkler system put in, and they have a contractor now. They said that it was going to start installation on July 1st. I think we're a little past that now. Mm-hmm. And they've had to get additional money, and the main reason why they had to get additional money was the vandalism that took place with the building sitting open. All the windows have been broken out, all the cabinets have been destroyed, the toilets have been broken. It's going to take some serious rehab in addition to the fire suppression sprinkler system. So they had to locate more money in order to get that done. So right now where we stand is the contractor is ready to go. As soon as they get the money in place, then the contractor will put the fire suppression sprinkler system in. Does not make a lot of sense to put that system in to do all the other repairs until after that system is put in, because they're going to have to be tearing everything apart. So they'll put the sprinkler system in, then they'll do all the other needed repairs and do what we suggested months ago, which is to put cameras up, and we would be able to have a presence there, and it wouldn't be just sitting there in an abandoned building. It's been, the graffiti on the outside is artistic, but not exactly what we had in mind, and so that all has to be taken care of. And so we are making progress, and this has certainly been a lesson in patience, but we're getting there, and we continue to hound the county manager on a weekly and sometimes several times a week basis. We're not letting them forget, and I talked to the county commissioners as well. Darlene B. Hill and Anjanette Brush have been big supporters of getting this done, and we're very grateful to them. Just wanted to mention, in addition to that, so we have Recovery Friendly Taos, which is our peer support group, and that currently is on the corner of Salazar and Sipapu. We need to move out of there by the end of the year. We're looking at the men's homeless shelter actually to move Recovery Friendly Taos into. Men's homeless shelter is going to move into the nest. And so once they move out, we're going to move in and bring our services there. We get a lot of the people from the nest anyway that are coming in. They leave the nest when they get kicked out at 8 a.m. and they come see us. And we try to meet everybody where they're at and just help them you give them referrals to organizations that can give them the support that they need. And really it boils down to, in so many cases, it's not the addiction that causes homelessness, it's the homelessness that causes addiction. They're out there on the street and they don't have anything else to do, and somebody comes by and says, hey, this will make you feel better, and all of a sudden they find themselves in that spiral down. And so we try to help them with the services that are available here to get back on their feet. We help them find jobs, we help them find housing, which, as was mentioned before, is extremely problematic because there's months-long wait. And when somebody is homeless and you tell them it's going to be 6 months before they can get a roof over their head, that can be pretty discouraging. And so, you know, we do the best we can with the resources that we have. Absolutely, a detox center is going to be essential. And once we can get not only the original detox center going again, but do the expansion that we received the congressionally directed spending for, then we'll be able to move forward. The other thing that we're looking at is there's state funding for a mobile crisis unit, and we want to have that based at the detox center, and because that will be staffed 24 hours with professionals that can go out when there is a problem, and hopefully we can calm situations down. I mean, the choices for our officers now are hospital or jail, and that's just completely unacceptable. So if we can have a mobile crisis unit with trained professionals that can go and calm down situations so that it won't come to incarceration, we're just not going to incarcerate our way out of this. It's not going to happen. And so we need to find alternatives, and getting those behavioral health services in place is what's going to provide the alternatives that we need to move forward.
Thanks, Steve, very good.
It's great news. It's really great news. I mean, even with the setbacks, we're moving forward. It's such great news. Thank you.
Is there a communication pipeline between?
My wife works with them.
Yeah.
Better
So,
pipeline than
yes,
that. That's how I knew about the
You
detox.
hear about it every day?
Yeah, so he was actually very accurate when he says about the homeless people too. There's times where I've been out in the streets and a lot of the homeless will do something in order just to go to jail so they get a night place to sleep and something to eat. They will, they'll fly, yeah, go ahead.
That's okay. I just wanted to also note that these conversations are really reactive. So you need to get schools involved, mental health needs to get involved much earlier on. It is much harder when an individual is 15, 16, 18, 22 that has been abused, that's been on the street, and now you're trying to teach them skills. So schools and getting that part of the intervention, especially for children who don't have families, you know, that are kind of all over the place, because we have a very high population of that. So a lot of these individuals are now have intellectual disabilities, have things like autism that haven't been diagnosed, especially if they're higher functioning. So and the trauma also will make these behaviors much worse. I spent 30 years of my career in jails and mental health facilities, residential centers, and again, if we don't get in there early, the reactive part is going to be really tough, and a lot of this is reactive. So we need more early intervention. We need to identify these at-risk kids and really help with our schools, because if not, we're going to continue with this.
And that comes back to this conversation that we've had over and over about mentorships. Because if we could get these kids when they're young and get them mentors and somebody to help guide them, it would save lives. I mean, it really could change things.
Well, and Big Brothers Big Sisters is doing what they can. I mean,
You're here in Taos?
oh yeah,
We
yeah,
should meet
definitely.
with them.
But the
And
education-
they need all the help and support they can get.
Who's in charge of that?
Tina, I can't think of
But it's even beyond that, because individuals who have borderline intellectual disability, mild intellectual disability, autism, they don't learn like the typical child. If you are a child that is in trauma, you are not available to learn. I don't care what that teacher does. So these programs are really good. However, there are very specific educational strategies that our teachers and folks in classrooms really need to know, because we're just pushing kids through, and then they're ending up on the street because they don't even have the skills to work, even at a basic job. So, you take a child with autism and you think they seem high functioning, and you all, unless you're trained, aren't going to get it. Somebody like me who's done it for 30 years will say, autism, this is not, so I've got to be really mindful about how I speak with them. I have to be much more concrete, and that's not something folks would know unless the person is really obvious with their symptoms. So really that educational piece with the mental health, with mentorship, it's really critical, because they really need all, they really need all of that.
How does do those new programs engage the parents?
So I will tell you, the kids with autism get a lot of services because of the lobbying and stuff that's been done. And insurance is starting to cover this for these kids. And what they're asking for is 1 hour a month for parent engagement. And do you know, it's like pulling teeth. So many times the parents will do it with me because I'm a doctoral level person, and they think, oh, this is great, I've got a doctoral person. So, but if I have a master's level clinician, they're like, whatever. So they will use me to try to get them and see the value of it. But that's free. They're getting that for free. So we are encouraging it, but it's tough. It's really tough. So getting that,
That's
them
kind of the
involved.
root cause then, the family part
Yes.
of it, and that's what
Huge.
needs to be.
Yes.
Huge, yes. Or somebody that could stand in like that, like whether it's an aunt or an uncle or something. But yeah, exactly, because their child is getting 20, 30 hours a week of direct services in school, out of school, and all they're asking for that 1 hour a month. And some are great. I've got some families that want it all the time. I've got others that, like I said, it's pulling teeth, and I have to say, your child won't have the services, so, we have to do this.
Well, and the volume of the problem, I think it seems like Sienna Sanderson said something like 100 of the students at Enos Garcia are housing insecure out of 300 students?
Wow.
And
Seriously.
seriously. And so they're either living in cars, or they're couch surfing, they're just, and so the size of this problem is something that we just can't ignore.
I think that it sounds like there needs to be a multi-pronged attack.
Just to say it's
You
multi-faceted.
have to, deal with the kids that are a product of the way the system is now and the family set, and then have another problem that starts earlier to get these parents to go. Because if we don't fix that, then this problem's going to recur and it's never going to change. Because as you get these help, then here's the next one's coming along. So it's like we're chasing our tails.
But when I did go to Enos, because we did a benefit thing for them, I took a check over and spoke to the woman that's in charge of these kids with these, and that are in these families. And she says they'll go to either, some of them are staying in storage units, some of them are staying in cars, some of them will go with grandma for one day and then uncle the next day. And so there's really, a lot of these families have no parents that are right there and active, and come to grandma and grandpa's house and they're doing whatever they want. So is this something that you could do a training?
Oh, absolutely. I just did this. He just heard all this last week, yes.
But if we went to Enos Garcia and the schools and got people together and did some kind of training,
Yeah, we were so last week, Steve went with me 5 hours away to do a training, and where was it? Tularosa. And they were talking, they were doing some stats about, kids with intellectual disabilities, developmental disabilities, and one of the things that was brought up was the parents also have them. So, you've got this child that has maybe autism or mild intellectual disability or borderline, intellectual disability, and then they find out mom's nonverbal. So now mom is functioning like a 10-year-old and trying to raise this child. So the family is intact, but you're dealing with a 10-year-old trying to raise a child. So, that family needs services because, the parents are delayed, so they don't know, they don't know what to do. They need a lot of help, and they're willing, but they just, they need a lot of help, and that happens more than we think. So, but yeah, we did a training on that, so I already have it.
I think Chief Wentz mentioned that you already have programs that go into the high school and interact with the students.
Well, we have one school resource officer.
And it really needs to be middle school and earlier.
Yeah. We did spend a number of meetings talking about this. I think it got lost because it's so important, it's so foundational to also this moving forward. I mean, really, that's where you have to start, is there, but we have existing issues too.
I would say even early intervention, the families with the babies.
Yeah.
Because those families could be at risk if you have some, a very young parent or something along
So we
those
really
lines.
have
So
some
they're
big
getting
societal
services.
issues.
Baby first.
Big societal issues.
Well, there was a
And
recent,
one of the girls I know is the head of that.
there was a recent case and CYFD was involved with, they were 2 underage parents. And what did they do? They put them up in the Hampton Inn. At the Hampton Inn.
Wasn't there a violent?
Like unsupervised,
Welcome.
and we get called out to the school.
What is going on there?
Huh?
What
Well,
is
it's
going
been,
on?
I mean, it's been a while. I don't remember the exact details. I just remember they were very young and had a baby, and the way they dealt with it was to put them in a hotel room by themselves.
Sounds like a party to me.
Doesn't sound right.
Was that, am I mistaken, were they at Dream Tree?
I think it was through Dream Tree.
Yeah, that's right,
They-
yes, it
I
was.
remember
That's
that.
right. But that's not the first time that that's happened, or housed at Hampton through these other resources. There's been some really foul outcomes too to these things.
And I've got to credit Dream Tree and the job that they're doing. They're trying to do the best they can with the nest. They can't, at the nest, they can't house families there. And so they try to take families and get them into hotel rooms, so at least they'll have a roof over their head.
And I don't mean that it's not derogatory at all, just following this, how this is unfolded.
It's and it's one of those jobs that I mean, it's so often there's incarceration involved. There's people that the father leaves, the mother leaves, whatever, and all of a sudden there's part of a family that doesn't have any place to stay, and so we've. It's one thing at the nest to house individuals, and thank goodness there's that service that's expanded from what it was, that we at least have that, but we need so much more. It's really a continuum of care, and it starts, I mean, it's like there's a program at the Pueblo, Tiwa Babies, that they go and do home visits and home interventions essentially. And we need to expand on programs like that to reach the entire community. And so we've got a long ways to go, but we don't have any alternative but just get started and do it.
I think this goes back to the same root issue of accountability. When you get into stuff like that, to me, that sounds like child neglect. And the system doesn't deal, there's no deterrent to those types of things, and that's part of it. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, CYFD is understaffed and under-resourced also, and so
It goes back to the findings of everything.
Yeah. It all boils down to resources, huh? on every side. You did just say though that your bill for incarceration was, had gone up, which sounds to us like a good thing, because
Well,
people
yeah.
actually,
That's municipal charges, so petty misdemeanor crime, but it has to do with like the trespassing and shoplifting and all those crimes that kind of play into all this. So yeah, that's up. But again, you know, then once they're incarcerated like that, which I think is a little bit of a deterrent, there's no service there to now that you got their attention to get them on track.
yeah. And that's the same thing that happens when we have a detox and we don't have transitional housing, is they're dropped off at their point they started, and it creates feedback loop.
Well, and that's why we're trying to get a continuum of care. And so the continuum would be detox, residential treatment, and then transitional housing.
And vocational treatment, vocational training,
Absolutely.
involvement, vocational something, responsibility. I mean, that's a piece, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely, and
Okay.
especially in transitional living, that's a great place to have that. We do a lot of that at Recovery Friendly Taos too, helping people to connect with the resources where they can get the training for specific jobs that they have an interest in. It's, but you know, once again, you know, step one is the detox center.
Right.
I mean, we need to get that first, and then we can work on the residential and the transitional living.
If things were to continually move forward, I mean, we know there'll be gaps with contractors waiting to show up, but can you give some, is it too early to say that you could give some anticipation of when? Is it maybe in a year we might see this detox running up and running? Or is,
For the last 6 years, we've been saying next week,
Yeah.
so
but now that we got out of the federal cycle, that loop that we were stuck in,
I
Is
wish
there
I
any- there's no
could.
way
We've been
to-
trying to get the county pinned down to
The
a
county is
start
the
date.
problem.
So how can-
Why don't we get pressure on the county?
I was just gonna say, can we go meet with the county? How can we influence them?
My thought is that during the citizens' comments, that's a really good time to get the commissioner's attention, and the commissioners are the manager's boss, and get the commissioners to put the pressure on the manager to.
So we don't need to
stop
show up
getting
when that's a
handouts.
topic, but we need to be there so that we can speak, is that correct?
What's that?
We don't need to wait for this to be a topic on their agenda, we can just show up to a meeting as a
Absolutely.
group and just like,
Yeah,
bombard them a little bit.
yeah, I've done that before. and-
Okay, cool, I just want to know how that works. Great.
So we talked about additional publicity through the media by a monthly blotter, which takes resources again, and they only have a couple of reporters. But if we're only doing that once a month, I would think that would be a task that the paper could take up. And then along with that, if we were to put pressure on the county to get this detox center unstuck and getting it moving forward, and maybe even have the police department chime in and to echo the importance of this to the community. And if they know that we're doing this, and they actually see this letter, what's our next step? Do we get the editor, do we get the editor here to one of our meetings and let them know what we're up to? And then do we go to the county and speak at the public comment session? Would that be a good course of action?
I think so.
The paper has a podcast. It's just kind of a one-off deal, but blogs are good, podcasts are good, but you got to push them. You can't, just a one-off doesn't do it. So you have to really
Create a wave.
make them consistent and, in a way, advertise them. Just get them out there. But you could start at the paper with the girl's name is Laura. Do the podcast. Try that.
Well, even an article in the paper following up on what we've done here today would be helpful. I'm a big believer in momentum. We put this together, and boil it down to some facts and solutions, if we can get an article in the paper about it, and then that would make the council aware of it. We can show up and speak there and continue to collaborate with the police department.
So next,
Somebody take this, 500 words or less, send it as a news release over there. 500 words or less, keep it short. That's about 500 words.
my turn?
Yeah.
Polly Ray.
My turn.
Well, my turn's good, yeah, sure.
Well, how else do you get it in there?
Well,
Unless-
news release and then have them follow up with an article, but my turn is good. Start with my turn.
So if you could put it into,
Yeah,
What's
I'm
that?
sorry,
I'll do
Give it to the
that.
Question News too.
okay,
Send them
Oh,
emails.
very good.
That'll tell me all I have to do.
yeah.
Yeah, Quest has a good little paper.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna set up the meeting for next week. We'll try getting this meeting with the paper next
I hope
week.
we'll make next week. I'm going into surgery on Tuesday. Can we make it 2 weeks?
Sure. Yeah,
That'd be easy.
but, yeah, okay. We'll get a meeting with them. That'll get it started.
Yeah. that'd be great.
Before the end of the month, yeah,
Mhm.
before the election.
Yes.
Coming up quick.
This is off topic, but you know, one thing we need to hit them with, guys, is that it's still dark on the plaza at night. It's really dark.
No, it's
The-
not actually, it's all
The
about lights.
gazebo, I
We're all
know,
about lights.
the gazebo is dark under there. The Shurig Lane is still dark. The lights aren't working there.
Do you know who we address for this?
Yeah, well, the county for the gazebo. I mean, I'll tell him,
Anybody
I can
swear?
do that, Anissa. I'll
They
call
had the lights
Anissa.
on earlier this summer, what?
I know,
Why
but
are
Shurig
they
Lane, they're still out, there's still a lot of lights out, so we need to talk to Kit Carson probably, don't you think?
Yes.
Because going through the town, we've told the town a
And
bunch of
it's
times.
now getting dark early,
Yeah,
so we
so,
want to keep this.
but we need to do that, you guys, if you guys could support that and
How can
call
we
in,
support?
well, we need to call Kit Carson and get those lights on.
Do you know, do you have a person you speak to?
Well, you can call Luis Reyes, but Yeah, yeah, yeah. yeah, he's awesome. And he usually gets things done right away. And then I'll call the county, but we need to look all around town because it's really, that's bad too. You know where,
Really dark.
behind McCarthy Plaza, that alley that goes down to the. Mhm.
Oh, yeah, Cynthia had an incident there just last week where she was being followed.
I think that happens
Coming back
quite
to
a
her
bit,
car.
and they do really bad things back there. That's, I think
Yeah.
that's Pueblo,
There were, she was
isn't
being
it?
tracked
We do have cameras.
We have cameras,
right
but,
to the Tuesday morning lot.
yeah.
Yeah, that she was telling us just Thursday that she had an incident where she was being followed, like someone was tracking her and she got to her car.
Yeah, but we need to do something about that alley too.
You know, one of the
Is it
things
private
we,
property?
It's the Pueblo owns it, it's an alley,
Okay.
and usually most of the alleys are owned by Pueblo.
one of the things we have in parks in California is a blinking blue light over a public phone that's like a direct line to the police department. It gives people a sense of security, like if you're alone or you're visiting and you have to walk through that dark area or the plaza and you see that phone, you're like, hey, I think I'm being followed. We talked about that. I mean, that's one possible outcome because we don't want the plaza in our business district to be intimidating and something that makes people feel fearful because they won't go there and spend money. I mean, this is kind of what started this whole discussion. The business district was dying on the vine because of lack of participation.
Loretta, how's things around your neck of the woods?
It was good for a while and then it started.
Oh, it started
We had a
back.
guy that was sleeping in the tent, the Bomb Street taco tent. And then there's a lady, I have some pictures of her that she's been going to the different businesses and shoplifting and she's there at the Dunhouse shop, she's really nasty.
Ooh, can you send the
Yeah,
pictures out?
yeah, and we've reported it to the police, you know, on this particular woman a couple of times, like 3 times already. And that's, you know, we haven't, like, Warren, I always send the information to Warren, and Warren's been real good about, you know, contacting you guys. And at one time we were full force, you know, if we had a picture of somebody, we would send an email and then everybody in the shops would know about it. And I don't know where that has gone. And like we have a lot of people trespassed at the Dunhouse shops. And Warren and I were just talking about maybe, I don't know if he's talked to you or who would we talk to at the police
You can
department?
get them banned now because it's private property. You know that, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so.
yeah, but we've got them trespass there and they still come back. And, you know, sometimes it's the same people, but sometimes, like this woman, 3-4 times already that she's been there and she's spit on people and she's knocked over signs and she's really rude and she's shoplifted from some of the shops.
Do you know her name?
I don't know, and that's what we're trying to do, is get her name so that we can get her 86 out of there.
Don't you have an image of her at least?
Yeah, I do.
We can, someone can follow up with that too. And you can-
Warren has some really good cameras, so, you know, we can get some really good pictures.
And also, you know, cameras aren't that expensive. Yeah, so, because Lex Lyford has set us up like all over the place, and John Dunn's and McCarthy Plaza in here, and it's not that expensive to get the cameras up. I mean, when we asked the mayor and Andrew to put up cameras instead of tearing down our fence at the Kit Carson Cemetery, they thought that that was a better solution to put up that big old fence. But cameras aren't, they were saying that it was $200,000, but
No.
that's, I mean, you can get cameras up for way less than
You
that.
can go to Costco.
I know. Yeah.
You can go to like all kinds of companies and get great cameras for.
You can buy cheap cameras on Amazon
Yeah.
that hook up to
Yeah.
your phone.
Yeah, $30 a piece.
Yeah, yeah, so, I mean, that shouldn't be an excuse anymore. I have another question, so when they do the budget for, it's the town that does the budget that pays the police officers?
Yeah.
Okay, so apparently, from what Lupe has told me, that's the most important meeting that we have to make, and that's not till next May, but when those budgets, when they start talking about budget, we need to get in there and, you know, it'd be nice if they don't spend $9,000 to cut down trees and then take down a building, if they would put that towards, you know, getting our detox center up or getting our town safer. We need to make sure that we really push that point.
Yeah,
We need
they
to do that.
usually have, and it is usually in May where there's a day where each department presents their proposed budget to the council, a lot of back and forth, and that's a public meeting.
Okay, great.
Or a series of client meetings and
And
stuff.
that's usually just that
Oh, just
one
one?
day.
Okay.
It's an all day, it starts early in the morning, goes till however late it goes,
Okay.
and that's the start of it.
Okay, so we'll look out for that. Emilio, do you have anything to guide us with?
Anything to say?
Yeah.
I was going to ask my good friend, I saw him this morning and we were addressing Kit Carson, right? But my question is, and I'm glad the chief is here and the soon-to-be chief. But my question is, you have two types of individuals that go through the system. One of them is addicted to alcohol. The other one is addicted to drugs. So how do you get the detox and how do you partner in for the other substance abuse individual? And that's where the courts need to be sort of trained. Because I've seen it too many times, individuals go through the system, and they'll go through the arraignment process. And I saw one individual says, Judge, don't put me on one of those spam units that we do as our business. He says, I'm a drug addict. And, well, she says, you do what I say. So, you know, they have to be trained. Since they're the initial charges, all the charges are, whether it's misdemeanors or felonies, they're born in the magistrate level. But these judges need to be trained as to how to be able to identify, you know, which one is going to be treated as to the detox and the other one to substance abuse, drug addicts and so forth.
Well, it's actually detoxes for both substance use and alcohol. The treatment at the detox level is essentially the same. It's monitor, get them into a place where they're not, where they don't have access to alcohol, get them into therapy, counselors, and the counselors are the ones that are trained to deal with the individual issues, whether it's drugs or alcohol. And for instance, with alcohol in the detox setting, that can be I mean, that can be critical emergency medical at times, because people can die during detox from alcohol. Generally, I mean, there's exceptions, but with drug use, it's not fatal, although it's really uncomfortable, and they've got to be in some place where they can just ride it out. And there's certain medications that can help them get through the withdrawals of symptoms. There are different medications for alcohol and for drugs, but that's where the detox setting, that the trained professionals there know how to deal with whatever the substance of choice is.
So one of the things that you might want to, you have a lot of skills in that regard. So one of the things that I would suggest that you partner with John Rodello with a detox compliance program.
I talk to him on at least a weekly basis.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So you go to the detention center. And see, that's a lot of times that is the issue. We do those monitors. And as recent as last week, we had some individuals that they wanted treatment, but these ankle monitors are not going to treat them.
No.
See, so they, at some level, there's got to be some form of education with the courts and all the way to the treatment to the service providers, I guess, so to speak.
And we talk to the judges on a regular basis as well, and one of the programs that we are in the midst of putting in place, going for a grant along with other organizations, is to have a peer. I'm a certified peer support worker. Have a peer with the person who's incarcerated when they go through arraignment, when they go through the sentencing, and then work with them and also potentially advocate for them, but not necessarily, more just make sure that they are compliant with whatever they're sentenced to. Because many times the judge will sentence somebody to, you know, certain stipulations that they have to do, and then they don't do them.
One of the things that I'm a firm believer of AA, if they have a sponsor. Mm-hmm. You know, that really works. I've seen it, and I don't think they have enough support in that regard. I don't know who's running the AA agency now. It used to be I think they used to be at the Presbyterian Church.
There's meetings all over town. We have an extremely strong AA community.
And I think that's where the judges need some form of, they need to some of those sponsors or those individuals who go through AA should be able to address the court, you know, at some level, or the DDI compliance officers like John or Norma, whomever is that, and to see yourself. Because there's a lot of individuals that I see almost, they have that addiction pretty bad. My brother died from drinking, and he says, I'll do what they tell me to do, but then, you know, I'll stay there. We used to have a detox center at the time. I'll go through that process for 7 days just so they can release me. And then he finally died from drinking. So every family has an issue, or, you know, some form of an issue that ties in, you know, the whole family. And it's tough, it's really tough. But I think you have to start from the bottom and work up somehow. And I think that's where we lack some of those resources, or there maybe we just haven't tapped into them. Because these officers are, you know, they spend a great deal of time to do so many things. And yet we very little appreciation to what they actually do. And they sometimes, but the courts, I still think, have that responsibility to address some of these issues that are not being addressed. And I think they have to be sort of a little bit more assertive, I guess, insofar as, you know, doing that with them.
Yeah, the revolving door is challenging.
Pretty good. I need to leave.
Okay. Thank you, officers. Thank you for coming. Thank you guys for putting this all together, and your involvement.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know it's been a lot.
I wanted to say something, and I'll give it over to you. On the gazebo, there is an electrical box, and it's not locked. I mean, somebody could do So, I don't know if you could report that to, but
I'll tell Anissa, Marilyn, I'll tell Anissa, I'll write her now.
We did a lot of them, something happened.
Thanks, you guys.
Hey, and good luck.
All right.
Okay, guys, next Tuesday, please don't forget the council meeting.